Hey y'all, how are you doing? I'm great. Thank you so much for asking. It's me, Kim, and I'm back for another video. How are you guys? Happy Black History Month, number one. Happy first day of February, the second best month of the year, only 2nd of March, which is my birth month. Before we really get into it, the first thing I have to say is thank you guys so much for helping my nieces reach their Girl Scout cookie goal. They reached it and they're quite a bit over it. So I really appreciate y'all for keeping me in the running for best aunt in the world. Thank y'all so much. Also, I'm trying to quit yelling. I know people were a little disturbed by how loud the last video was. I'm trying not to yell so much, but y'all know I get excited. I get excited. Okay, but I'm not gonna, y'all can just tell me in the comments, like, Kim, you're yelling. Okay? All right. We are here to talk about Janet. We're here to talk about Janet. I'm going to be honest with y'all. It took me longer than I thought to come up with the notes for this live stream because I thought that I was just going to come on here and do a straight down the middle review of the Janet Jackson documentary, because one thing you need to know about me, I am a true blue Janet stan. I want to make this very clear, okay? Like, I'm not joking. I'm not one of y'all new kids that just came. There is no artist, living or dead, that I love more than Janet Jackson. Now, I love Stevie Wonder. I love Anita Baker, love Prince. But when we are talking about complete artistry, spectacle, concerts, looks, albums, for me, it's Janet Demita Jo Jackson. The end. I've seen her in concert twice. Once in 2001, me and my mom went to the All For You tour in Vegas. It changed my life. I've always been a pop girl, always loved pop music, always love a two-step, a boom cat. And so I think at that time I was starting to get really into Britney. And my mom was like, no. Like, this Britney shit, like, no. Like, if we're going to do this, like, we're going to do the real deal. And so we saw Janet. And since then, I've been a stan. How old was I in 2001? 12? Amazing. I made sure to go to Las Vegas in 2019 for the Metamorphosis, like the residency. I'm so glad I went. Oh my God, when the pandemic hit, the first thing I thought when I realized that we were going to be inside for months and now years in this pandemic, I was like, I'm so glad that I made the decision to go to Vegas for the residency. Okay, I was just happy to be there. I think Velvet Rope is one of the best albums ever made. I think that the Control to Rhythm Nation to Janet to Velvet Rope, that run of albums is one of the best runs, if not the best run in pop music history. Control to Rhythm Nation to Janet to Velvet Rope. Don't play with her. Don't play with her. She is not to be played with. Now, I just wanted to do a straight discussion of the Janet Jackson documentary, but when I was putting together that notes for the documentary, I realized that I was having to do a lot of supplements, like a lot of visual aids, a lot of videos, because the documentary had a lot of holes in it. And one of the big holes in that documentary was the stuff around Justin Timberlake. And so I started off just like looking at one thing and then looking at another thing and looking at another thing. And then the next thing I knew, I was in a full-blown rabbit hole around the Super Bowl. And I have to tell you that when I started down the rabbit hole, I was feeling one way. And by the end of it, I was feeling a completely different way. All right. So, we all remember that in 2004, she's herself. Yeah, we can talk about the gaps, you guys. Can we talk about the gaps? Yeah, we can. So let's go back to 2004. Janet Jackson headlined the Super Bowl, but do y'all remember that Nelly, Kid Rock, who is a racist POS now, and Diddy were also like the special guests of the Super Bowl because MTV loved to do these things where it's like mashup icon with young people and what are the kids listening to now? So why is I'm accidentally shaking the microphone, sorry. But so Janet was the headliner, the person icon by that point. But then they also sprinkled in all these other like lessers, right? Like irrelevant people. Okay, but I barely remember that. Like I had to go back and watch it and it's like, unforgettable. Bye. Okay. So the thing that really got me going down the rabbit hole was this. The New York Times did a documentary for Hulu called Malfunction, the dressing down of Janet Jackson. And then after that, I started to watch interviews with Janet Jackson's wardrobe stylist. And I have some feelings, really complicated feelings as a Janet stan. So before the Super Bowl, Janet and her team were teasing shocking moments, right? We didn't at that time, before it actually happened, we had no clue that the surprise guest, one of the shocking moments was going to be Justin Timberlake. And this was right in the kind of the beginning in or middle-ish part of like the Justified album cycle. Justified came out in 2003, I think, because I was in 8th grade, right? So 2003. And then by 2004, like he has Momentum. We have Rock Your Body. Let's go here. Love that pink. Thank you, Sweet July. Appreciate you so much. We love I'm trying to find the super chat. Oh, there it is. Thank you. I'm giving you another sweater moment. Thank you. All right. So 2004, Justin has now established himself, or he's in the midst of establishing himself as a solo artist. So we had Like I Love You, which was the first track off Justified. Didn't do too good. But then we got Rock Your Body, bonafide bop. Okay. We loved it. Shout out to the Neptunes, though, because Neptunes and Timbaland really carried that Justified album. Let's be honest about that. Okay, so in the documentary, Janet is talking about the Super Bowl, kind of reliving that incident on the couch, talking to her brother Randy. And it's really clear that when she's discussing it, that she still has some real bad blood about the Super Bowl. Like she's not completely over it. It doesn't sit right in her spirit. And then she really casually starts talking about Justin. And we're like, yes, like this is what we want. Drag him, Janet, right? But she doesn't drag him. She does say that she has some bad blood with CBS, and I'll get into why she has bad blood with CBS. And she talks about how Justin invited her to perform with him when he headlined the Super Bowl in 2018. She said no. But I think one of the most shocking things about that scene and the part of that conversation with Randy that made headlines and is still making headlines is Janet saying this. She said, after the Super Bowl, we talked once and he said, I don't know if I should come out and make a statement. I said, listen, I don't want any drama for you. They're aiming all of this at me. So I just said, if I were you, I wouldn't say anything. Now, wait a second, Janet. No, wait 1 minute, Janet. I'm sorry, I'm yelling again. We've been mad at Justin Timberlake for 18 years because he didn't vociferously come out and defend you. We've been mad at him because he chose to hide. So it's a little weird. It's a little strange and disorienting when now, 18 years later, in the documentary that Janet executively produced, that she says, oh, I told him to be quiet. Okay. But in 2006, Janet sat down for the definitive interview about the Super Bowl. Well, it wasn't really about the Super Bowl. She was releasing 20YO, but Oprah got first dibs on Janet talking about the Super Bowl and her feelings about it and her feelings toward Justin Timberlake. So this is what Janet had to say when she was on Oprah. Please note that this is going to be audio only so that this video does not get taken down.
Do you think in any way that Justin Timberlake left you hanging out there?
Well, all the emphasis was put on me, not on Justin. And Justin, we were friends. And not that we aren't now, we haven't spoken, but I consider him a friend, and I'm very loyal, and friendship is very important to me. And I have to say, just to let people know that Justin has reached out to we haven't spoken, but has reached out to speak with me, and like I said, friendship is very important to me, and certain things you just don't do to friends. And in my own time, I'll give him a call. So
when you say certain things you just don't do to friends, you think him ripping the whole thing off? Is that what you're talking about?
No. When you had said, certain things were said supposedly, or that he had said, during that whole fiasco, I had heard, and kind of leaving you out there hanging.
So you do feel that he left you hanging?
To a certain degree, yeah.
Okay.
Okay, so I'm going to be honest. Even that statement in 2006 wasn't super coherent. Like, I just feel like, you know, if you're going to clear it up, then like you should really clear it up. Like, give us some clean thoughts about it. But at the end, Janet did get around to saying, yes, he hung me out to dry. I wouldn't do that to friends. There are certain things you don't do to friends. Now, that's fascinating, right? Like it's not making, okay, but there's more. So I actually heard that there were people interviewed for the documentary to discuss the racist, sexist backlash that she experienced, like the levels to it, and they got cut out. And instead of that discussion about how everybody in the United States, not everybody, but so many powerful people and institutions in the United States descended on Janet to make an example out of her. Instead of that, we got a cell phone video of Janet affirming that she and Justin have always been friends. They never stopped being friends, and there are no hard feelings. Thank you so much, Clement. Appreciate you. All right, now that's her choice, right? This whole thing is about Janet telling her story the way she wants to tell it. But I have to say, I did find it a bit frustrating that even after all of these years, when she decided to speak about it, she actually added more confusion. More confusion that's going to continue to fuel conversations. It's going to continue to make headlines. And we're now going to have to talk about this until the end of time. But one thing she's always said is that it's a mistake. It's a mistake. It's a mistake. Like, she's always been really consistent about that. But because there was really no clarity offered in that 2006 interview or in the documentary, I just wanted to learn more about what happened. So I watched Malfunction, the New York Times documentary on Hulu. Now let's go over some of the things that I learned. The NFL did not play about the halftime show. CBS didn't play, MTV didn't play. They were very meticulous about it, okay? Everything is rehearsed and everything has to be approved, including the wardrobe. The whole point is, if this is being beamed out to 100 million people, we don't want no surprises, okay? Okay? These shocking moments, we don't want that. And so Justin was always going to come out and sing Rock Your Body. And of course, you know, the sexy part, gonna have you naked by the end of this song. And at that point, Justin, in the rehearsals, was going to remove a skirt that Janet had on. And then the rep from MTV saw that in the rehearsal and was like, no, this isn't working. So they scrapped it. But there was never any plans to do something different. They just were like, no, just don't do the ripping the thing off anymore. Now, without notifying MTV or CBS, Janet and Wayne Scott Lucas, her wardrobe stylist, changed the outfit. Lucas said in that documentary he bought the nipple shield for her. Now, I'm not mad at Janet for making a unilateral decision to change the wardrobe. First of all, at this point, she's 37 years old. I already mentioned the Control, Rhythm Nation, Janet, Velvet Rope Run, right? Icon, right? Let that lady do what she wants to do. Sorry, I'm yelling again. So I think, girl, do whatever you want to do. That's not the issue. But that means that because it was changed last minute, and again, this is coming from the people who were there, this is not conjecture. This is not speculation. Because it was changed last minute, there was no rehearsal. Janet Jackson, she's the headliner. She gets to do what she wants, but it's a risky move. Now, Justin is in the thick of promoting Justified. I already said, so he's jetting off all over the place. And he gets to Houston a couple of hours before the show. And Janet and Wayne, the wardrobe stylist, take him back and say, okay, we're going to do this. Now, Janet said on Oprah that they did rehearse it, but based on the timeline, there's no way that there was like a full-on dress rehearsal. Like, that's just not possible. So it's really possible that they did, a kind of run through in the dressing room. Totally believe that. Both Justin and Janet say that the patent leather piece of the bustier was supposed to be removed to reveal a lacy bra underneath. But here's the twist. The costume designer, whom Janet didn't fire, right? They had been working together for over 30 years. And the costume designer and Janet still have a really good relationship because he was featured very prominently in the documentary that she executive produced. But here's what he had to say about the incident.
Well, the real story is it was the most functioning wardrobe I've ever done. I get paid a lot of money for years and years to be a stylist, and I get hired. I'm a work for hire. I do my job. I make things succeed. I'm going to let Janet tell her story about the wardrobe malfunction. I don't know what she's going to speak about, but I call it the most functioning wardrobe in history. And I did what I was supposed to do. I did my job. I do think that MTV and the producers were supposed to cut to the lights sooner. It was supposed to go black and then have fireworks.
Okay, Prutep said it wasn't a few hours. He arrived 20 minutes before the show and required a police escort. Yikes. Okay, so that makes it even dicier, right? So there was no run through with the new outfit. Okay. Yikes. Also, somebody said that I have a soft light filter on. I do not have a filter, bitch. Don't fucking play. All right. All right. So we just heard Wayne say there was no malfunction. That was exactly what was supposed to happen. Now, Wayne is calling Janet and Justin liars. That's basically what he's doing. Wayne is saying in 2021, I think that was from, they've been lying for 17 years. But Wayne and Janet haven't fallen out. They're still cool. Okay, now it's really clear that the ripping off of the bustier part, it's planned, right? Things just don't cleanly rip off like that. But if you look, right, neither Janet or Justin look happy after the incident, right? She looks absolutely distraught. And in the Malfunction documentary, she looked absolutely distraught. People confirm that she was crying afterwards. She was not well. And you see here, Justin looks like a deer in headlights. So obviously something went wrong. I actually do believe Wayne when he says it was a timing issue and not necessarily a wardrobe issue. But let's take a closer look at the wardrobe. Now, this is some conspiracy theory, tinfoil hat, weirdo shit that I don't normally do, but I think it's useful for us to do this. All right. So I did blow up. I'm sick. This is sick. I'm so sorry. I'm so sorry, Janet. I did blow up this image of the wardrobe. So what we see here, obviously, as Janet has said before, there were snaps, right? So around the boob part, there were snaps. Everybody confirms, nobody denies that that part is supposed to come off, right? The little fasteners. Okay. But something I thought is interesting is that when you blow up this image of the piece of the bustier that Justin has in his hand, you see the snaps, that's the cut part. And you see the lace, but the lace is just a border around the bustier. Where is the full lace bra? Now, I went back and looked at some other images, images of the stage, images of what's on, the bottom, the images of them walking away, and there's no lace bra there. So also, as a person who wears bras, it's really hard to just rip off a piece of a bra like that. Now, look, I'm a stand forever, forever, forever. So I'm not comfortable saying Janet is not telling the truth about what happened or how this happened. I'm not comfortable doing that. I can only say things are not adding up for me. That's all I can say. So my question was, and these are questions that have not been answered as I've gone down this rabbit hole. I believe that he was supposed to rip it off and immediately we're supposed to go dark in pyro or fireworks or whatever. Was the message about the costume change sent to the people who are in charge of lights and pyro? Did they know that, okay, look for his hand to go there? As a theater kid, right? You got to have, the crew has to have notes. Do they know? Look for the hand to go there, and that's your cue to cut the lights. Was production just asleep at the wheel? Because if so, guillotine. MTV and CBS didn't know, but were the people in charge of flipping the switch? Did they know? That's really important here. Okay. So based on that, who is responsible for the actual malfunction? Okay, let's go to, the comments are moving fast. Let me go back. I saw somebody good. DeAndrea says, but that doesn't even make sense. What would be the point? So the nipple can just be flapping in the dark? No, the point is you get the drama, right? No, this is theater kid Kimberly. The point is you get the drama of the ripping off and it looks real and Justin's able to have it in his hand, but before anybody actually gets exposed, it goes dark. Oh, I totally see that. Okay. If the whole bra was lace and came from Lane Bryant, I can attest that it can be ripped away that easily. No comment on if she is lying. Okay, I haven't had that experience, but if y'all say that that is a real thing, okay. Yeah, the whole point is, if my theory is correct, right? The point is you want the drama, you want the shocking moment, but you also realize you're on network TV, so you can't take it too far. Okay. All right. So based on that, who was responsible for the actual malfunction? Mostly Janet and her team. Sorry. because of the last minute nature of the change, because MTV and CBS were so meticulous, they were so serious about making sure if anything has changed, you let us know. That's how I feel. However, that does not mean that Janet needed to be crucified. Janet is a performer. She is an entertainer. She wants to deliver a spectacle, a night that we will never forget. I get it. Okay, as a lover of spectacle, I understand. But still, this is absolutely 100% blown out of proportion. And I also have to say, when we're talking about the relationship between Janet and Justin, I do think it's weird when people posit that Janet Jackson and Justin Timberlake had equal power at the time of the Super Bowl. That's not true. They were not equals. He was on her stage. If she said jump, it's his responsibility to say how high, okay? Because he's nobody, girl. Get the fuck out. Even though I did love Justified and Future Sex Love Sounds and the first part of the 2020 Experience. The second part was trash. Now, race and gender absolutely matter here. They absolutely color how Janet was demonized and vilified for years afterward. But Justin Timberlake is not responsible for that incident. Not his show, not his decision. And in Malfunction, was it Tito who said, her breast didn't just get exposed by itself? True, but it's not fair for the headliner to say, this is what we're doing, and then have no rehearsal, and then something goes wrong, and then people say, how dare you do that to her? Okay, so an accident happens. We should talk about it for a couple of days and move on. That is not what happened. And the ensuing action is where we have space to implicate Justin Timberlake. Because the actual incident, that's not you. But what you do after is what matters, okay? Only what you do for Christ will last, okay? Vice City, thank you. Theater Kid Kimberly should come out more often. Thank you. All right, so Janet was horrified. She fled the stadium. She said she had to finish working on Demita Joe. People are saying that they saw her crying. They saw her sobbing. Why, after that happens, does Justin go out to talk to the media all easy breezy, beautiful cover girl and trying to laugh it off? No, sir. There absolutely should have been, at that point, some communication. If you recognize that something has gone wrong, there absolutely needed to be some communication between Justin's team and Janet's team immediately. The messaging should have been united because he was not on code at all. Justin, right afterwards, was talking to like Maria Menounos and then being like, we told y'all, controversy. We told y'all. What? No. If you see an icon running off stage, you know this is not laugh, laugh, joke, joke, play time. Okay. So Justin, being the dummy that he is, clearly had no idea that this was going to blow up. Janet knew it was bad. And then Justin kept saying things that make it worse. Let's play this. I'm sorry. This is a recording of a TV, so it's going to be bad quality, but let's listen to him.
I don't feel like I need publicity like this. And I wouldn't want to be involved with a stunt, especially something of this magnitude. And let me just get something off my chest. I've been on tour for the past 3 months. Got a call from my manager to do the Super Bowl, that they were interested in me doing the Super Bowl, and initially turned it down. Got a call from Janet and decided to do it. Found out a way to work the performance into one musically, i.e. her song going into mine. Now I wasn't able to be at a lot of the rehearsals. I flew in from Spain the last day.
Justin was so steamed, he came back after the interview was finished to say this.
So the only other thing that I can say is that I do understand. I I do understand how unfortunate this is. I do understand that there were a lot of people that were completely offended by what happened, including my own family. And
that's enough. So he's saying things there we've already covered here. He flew in last minute. They changed it. I have to say, people saying that they should go down together, that they deserve the exact same amount of scorn. I don't believe that. I don't believe that. I'm sorry, I don't. Now, obviously, the stuff that happened to Janet is inexcusable. I think it was very, very unseemly. It was very, very bad of him to go out and really throw her under the bus. I don't know why there was not more communication between the two camps, but I also have to say that based on what we've heard Janet say, she wasn't really open to communicating with Justin. So it seems like after this happens, Janet goes her own way. She's trying to finish recording Demita Joe. Justin is still in the thick of things. He goes to the Grammys and he's still in the promo cycle. And there's never a point where the two camps can get on the same page. I think that's really strange for Janet and her team of well-paid publicists to not be more proactive about taking control of this narrative. It doesn't even have to be Janet herself, right? Because she's traumatized. But what are you paying people for? Right? What about the people around you? Why is there no war room? Like, why are we not trying to? I do think that was a huge miscalculation. But the outrage that happened because of Nipplegate, as it was dubbed, is not about Janet. And what neither Justin nor Janet had any control over was the fact that for years, conservative political operatives and evangelical Christians had been building up this infrastructure to dominate culture war battles. So this is stuff that had been happening for, 25, 30 years at this point, where the conservatives and evangelical Christians are coming together to say, oh, we don't like gay people. We're misogynists. We're racist. We don't want the culture to change. And so they're building up these organizations that become really powerful. And 2004, when this happens, those organizations are so powerful that it's really easy for them to mobilize and descend and blow this shit up. It was a well-oiled machine. And so they jump on it. The FCC receives 500,000 complaints. The Federal Communications Commission, FCC, right? They control the airwaves. And Janet is made out to be the worst woman who ever lived. And, evangelical Christians are like the most annoying people on the planet, for sure, right? And she gives a couple of apologies, one statement, and then she does like the hostage video, where she's like, I didn't mean it, right? Whatever. Something that this really underscores is that corporations, politicians, and media are so damn opportunistic. A lot of the outrage is media fueled, and people use what about the children to demagogue. They use what about the children just to serve their own political means. I wanted to play this clip. It's from New Mexico Republican Heather Wilson, who brought in the head of CBS, the head of Viacom, to talk about and to scold them and talk about why she is so hurt by the Super Bowl.
I should not have to use an NFL halftime show as a negative example to teach my children. And there are a lot of other parents who feel the same way. As a lawmaker, I want to know how something like this made it on to the show in a very scripted, rehearsed for weeks performance. And in the same way that Enron highlighted unacceptable corporate behavior from a financial point of view and ethics in our corporate boardrooms, Viacom's support of shock jocks and allowing tasteless Super Bowl programming is a nationwide entertainment industry scandal. You knew what you were doing. You knew what kind of entertainment you're selling. And you wanted us all to be abuzz, here in this room and on the playground in my kid's school, because it improves your ratings, it improves your market share, and it lines your pockets.
Girl, where is Robin DiAngelo? It's giving white fragility. Girl, are you that really upset and that shaken over having to explain a flash of a breast that literally was on screen for 9/16 of a second? The drama, okay? The drama, stunt queen, Heather Wilson. All right, so I also wanted to talk about, this is former FCC chairman Michael Powell, the son of Colin Powell. So Michael was the head of the FCC at the time, and he, like everybody else, used this incident as an opportunity to grandstand. He is the person responsible for launching a federal investigation into Nipplegate. And this is what he said. Like millions of Americans, my family and I gathered around the television for a celebration. Instead, that celebration was tainted by a classless, crass, and deplorable stunt. So he called it the worst thing he'd ever seen on television. He called it a new low for primetime TV. He said they clearly had knowledge of it and that Janet obviously got the attention that she was looking for. Now, what's interesting is Michael Powell, a couple years ago, a decade later in 2014, he came back and apologized. He said that the outrage obviously was overblown, that it was too much, that he regrets putting so much energy into the federal investigation. But girl, it's too late. It's too fucking late, Michael Powell. Death to them all, okay? Okay. All right. So why wasn't, a week or two of dragging Janet or whatever, like, why was that enough? It wasn't enough because of a little something we like to call misogynoir. Okay. Misogynoir is the particular venom aimed at Black women through negative representations in media and the way that Black women are uniquely denigrated because they are Black and women. Thank you, Candace. Let's also not discount the vendetta Les Moonves had against. Yeah, we're getting there. Y'all gotta trust me. Y'all gotta trust that I'm gonna get there, okay? If you don't know nothing about me, you know that I am thorough. We're not gonna let Les Moonves off the hook, okay? So despite the fact that Janet acknowledges that things went wrong, she's horrified and devastated, that's not enough, And it's misogyny, it's racism, but there's also ageism, something that I was really struck by. Culture has changed so much in these 18 years. There's even an article, an analysis of the Nipplegate incident in the New York Times that referred to Janet as middle-aged. At that time, Janet was 37 years old, right? Basically, it was so much of the conversation around Janet at this time was, ew, who wants to see an old ass lady's boobs? Ew, gross. Now, can you imagine in 2022, somebody saying, ew, well, people do say this, but like this being a mainstream thought, ew, gross. Who wants to see Beyonce's 40-year-old ass? She needs to cover up. Yuck. So even if I don't agree 100%, I do understand the feeling that Justin should have gone down with the ship. I mean, Janet was on Justified, right? She was on Take Me Now, a great, Timbaland produced bop. She had offered her platform to him, lent out her street cred, lent out her credibility to usher Justin onto her stage. And Justin, from the very beginning, has benefited enormously because of his proximity to Black culture. Enormously from Chad and Pharrell investing in him, Timbaland investing in him, going on 106 in Park, obviously linking up with Janet, doing the cornrows at one point, doing the kind of urbanish feel, right? And remember in the Like I Love You video where he had like the brown girl who wasn't quite black, but she was brown, you know, he was trying to say, she might not be black, but I'm not with the Becky. That's what he was trying to say. I don't remember if that girl was black in the Like I Love You video. I don't remember. Y'all tell me. Okay. So, Justin has been getting dragged for 18 years, and he last year posted this apology because he was getting dragged up and down by everybody. Okay, this is really okay. Let me try to read this. All right. Oh, here we go. I've seen the messages, tags, comments, and concerns, and I want to respond. I'm deeply sorry for the times in my life where my actions contributed to the problem, where I spoke out of turn or did not speak up for what was right. I understand that I fell short in these moments and in many others and benefited from a system that condones misogyny and racism. I specifically want to apologize to Britney Spears and Janet Jackson, both individually, because I care for and respect these women, and I know I failed. I also feel compelled to respond in part because everyone involved deserves better, and most importantly, because this is a larger conversation that I wholeheartedly want to be a part of and grow from. All right. There's the second part of that, but I'm not reading that second part. Go on Justin's Instagram if you want to learn more. Okay. So because he was getting up and down, right? Free Britney was dragging him. Justice for Janet was dragging him. Like, y'all are not going to let him... Y'all are not going to let him rest, right? And okay, we get it. I understand it. We also now have to talk about the real villain of this story, Les Moonves. So Les Moonves was the head of CBS in 2004. Les Moonves was personally outraged. He took it personally. It affected his ego because after Janet gave those two apologies, he wanted Janet to come to his office personally. He's the chairman and CEO of CBS. I said that. He wanted Janet to come to his office personally, sit down, grovel, and beg to be let back into his good graces. Justin did it. Justin said, "Oh, I need to go to the Grammys. I got a Grammy to pick up." Janet said, "Eat shit." And honestly, to me, it's quite gangster that she refused to keep apologizing. So because Janet refused to keep apologizing, he blackballed her. He was so mad that even when Janet got a book deal 7 years after the Super Bowl, he was outraged. And here is an excerpt from an article about that, right? He ordered Viacom Properties, VH1 and MTV, and all Viacom-owned radio stations to stop playing Jackson's songs and videos. Obviously, because this is pre-social media, when we were really on the internet like that. We were on, but we weren't on all the time like we are now. If radio and television is not fucking with you, you're not going to get Janet Jackson numbers, okay? We're not getting Velvet Rope numbers if you don't have those avenues to be able to promote. All right, so Jamita Joe came out a month after this. So one thing I really do appreciate, let me add this. This is the article if you're interested in looking. Les Moonves was obsessed with ruining Janet Jackson's career. All right. I see the sexism Janet went through, but I'm confused about the racism. If this would have happened to Madonna, do you think the reaction would have been different? Because I know folks hated Madonna back then. First of all, back then, we're talking about 2004. It's not that long ago. But I think that we are not being so. Sexism and racism are co-constitutive. Right? Like that's the thing about intersectionality, right? Like all of our identities are always working. Oh my God, look at that background. Oh, that background is, girl, where you live, Kim? The background, that sunset? Oh, bitch. I'm sorry I'm yelling. Okay. I don't think it's possible for us to say it was only sexism and not racism because Janet moves through the world in a Black woman's body. And so she is always subject to being raced and experiencing misogyny. Like there's no way that she can opt out of either one. And particularly when we think about the history of how Black women's bodies are so desired and reviled, the amount of disdain and disgust, the depth of it, the anger, right? The venom, the vitriol. I'm unwilling to say that there's no racism involved at all. Absolutely, it's misogynoir. Okay. Justin could have kept that notes app apology. He was trying to get y'all to stop dragging him. That's what he was trying to do. Okay. All right. So let's get back to Les Moonves. Sorry, I'm gonna have to. Okay. So Les Moonves had it out for her, but God don't like ugly. That boomerang came right back around because in 2018, Les Moonves was ousted from his position as CEO and chairman of CBS after multiple women accused him of sexual harassment. He was forced out of that position. Okay. So one thing I do appreciate is I appreciate us, because by that time, by 2004, I transitioned out of the TRL, and was TRL even on anymore? If it was, I was not watching, right? I was all in on 106 in Park. And so when I was thinking about how my relationship to seeing Janet on TV changed, I was like, I don't feel like it really changed a lot to me, because I was watching 106 in Park every day and Janet was on there. I remember Janet going on BET to promote Damita Jo. I remember watching the I Want You video. That's like my favorite song off of Damita Jo, or one of, and loved it. And I remember Janet also being on the cover of Essence. That really iconic, let me see if I have it on here. Do I not have it? Okay. I didn't add it in the slides, but there's a really iconic cover of Janet, Mary, and Beyonce that also came out in 2004. So Black media, what I'm trying to say is Black media always held her down. And I'm so glad to have grown up in a household where we supported Black media. Like we got Essence, we got Ebony, like we got Jet. Like that was normal. And that's why I wanted to create Black media. Okay, also, I want to throw in a little book recommendation. Everybody should read Misogynoir Transformed, Black Women's Digital Resistance by Bailey. If we want to learn more about how misogynoir plays out in our pop culture, but also in policy, highly recommend. I revisited it today to prepare for this live. Girl, do it. All right. Actually, I will actually put a link in the comments after I get off of this live. That's what I will do. Okay. So the question is, why would Janet change her story now? Yeah. Clearly something has changed, because most of the video looks well-produced, well-funded. She's sitting down, very normal documentary stuff, doing the interviews. And then all of a sudden we're talking about the Super Bowl, and then we get thrown in that cell phone video, and it's very jarring. What made her stick that in there? My thing is, somebody lied. At some point, somebody's lying. Okay. Is she lying now, or we won't say lies. Lies is too harsh. I'm sorry. Lies is too harsh for Janet. I can't do that. Okay. Somebody's telling stories. Somebody's telling stories, either then or now. So this documentary is supposed to be the definitive Janet statement. Why would you want something that is potentially untrue in there that's going to be shared far and wide? So I've seen people say that it's because they have the same publicist. Okay. But Janet chose that publicist, right? Like, do you think that the publicist has the power to put a gun to her head? Like, the whole point of the documentary is that, like, Janet is a grown-ass woman taking control of the narrative, and the things that she didn't want to talk about, she didn't talk about. We didn't even hear about the third husband in the documentary. We've never seen the child. So I do think that she has the power and the agency to say, this is what I'm going to say. This is what I'm not, right? Okay, let's do Mika. I was just thinking, how can no one see, sorry, Mika, how can no one see the racism mixed with sexism? Janet would have never gotten spoken of again if the outcry for white Britney and Justin's involvement wasn't sparked first. Oh, that's a good point, Mika. That's a good point. Okay. So I have some ideas about why Janet might have decided to shift to this narrative. I feel like, do I need to change the color of these lights? I like that better. All right. Sorry. Oh, not me producing in the middle. I'm sorry. We're just trying to step our cookies up. I told you, like, that's the whole point. All right. I don't think that you can be surprised when Janet, after 18 years, is like, oh, let's be done with it. Okay, we're fine. We're friends. Get off his back. I don't want to talk about it anymore. Because whenever Janet's name and her genius are brought up, Justin is the first thing so many people talk about. Janet Jackson, illustrious career, has been working for almost 50 years. Whenever people talk about Janet and that illustrious career, people can't help it. It's a compulsion. They have to say, and I hate Justin Timberlake. Why are y'all doing that? It's very clear that Janet does not want every conversation about her legacy to start with that. Why do y'all keep, we talk about white supremacy. We talk about racism and sexism and intersectionality and misogynoir, okay? Why do y'all insist of constantly centering this white man in discussions about this icon? That shit irks me. So I can imagine that it irks her. Okay, so as a genuine Janet stan, genuine, I did say genuine. I'm from the South. As a genuine Janet stan, when Janet's name comes up, my first inclination is not, oh, I hate Justin Timberlake so much. My first thought is, oh my God, Velvet Rope, I Get Lonely, doesn't really matter, Miss You Much, Escapade, Runaway, HBO specials, tours, merch, videos, looks, like I want to talk about the brilliance. I don't want to talk about Justin. So my thing is, I don't care if people hate Justin forever. Boo! Tomato, 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 I'm throwing tomatoes. Okay, fine. But can we please detach that conversation from every Janet conversation? Anyways, Justin is in his flop era, so it's like, girl, he gonna get his comeuppance anyway. Right? We got Justified. We got Future Sex Love Sounds. We can move on. Jamali says people don't let Black women live down mistakes. For sure. For sure. Okay. So one thing that I wanted to talk about is thank God for the internet. One of the reasons why I wanted to bring up this book is because Moya does such a good job of deconstructing how Black women, because of internet, because of these emerging technologies, have been able to speak back to misogynoir, have been able to take control of all of these different narratives and shift the conversation. That's really important. Because if we did not have these technologies, I'm not sure there would be a redemption arc for Janet. I think that in her New York Times obit, we're talking about the woman who exposed her breast at the Super Bowl. That's in the lead. I don't think that's in the lead anymore. D, just want to say you're fucking amazing. Thank you, D. Mika, if Black women didn't aggressively remind the rest of the world about Janet's legacy mistreatment during the Free Britney movement, white people would have continued to pretend Janet had no impact. Here's the thing, though, right? Like, but what about the victim? Do you know what I'm saying? But what about the fact that every single time when we are refusing to detach Janet's brilliant legacy from Justin Timberlake white man, what about the possibility that is constantly re-triggering Janet? That is not how she wants to move through the world. Right? Like Britney was asking for help, right? Britney was egging on the Free Britney people. Yes, giving them secrets in the Instagram videos, thanking them. Yes, I need the support. Janet is not doing that. I think we have to take into consideration why, at this point, she's not doing that. Okay. So, I wanted to say, let's move this back. We might need to turn this down a bit. For Harriet as a brand is 11 and a half years old, right? And I have seen the way Black women being able to create and amplify their own voices has transformed the way that people talk about Black womanhood and engage with Black women. I have seen the way that concepts that started in academia, like intersectionality, have become mainstreamed, that they are common discourse. That stuff that used to be on the margins, right? The idea that Black women are exploited and overburdened. That stuff used to be intra-communal conversation. Now you got politicians trying to win votes by talking about Black women being exploited and overburdened. That's because of the internet. That's because of social media in particular. That's because of Twitter. Yeah. So it took Black women going back and saying this stuff is absurd and mastering these technologies to spread the message that I won't say all of us, right? Because many of us are still suffering. But the conversation around who Black women are, what we do, what we bring to the table, that has changed so much. So, Janet lost a lot. I hate that she is still having to talk about this almost 20 years later. But something that we don't talk about a lot when it comes to her legacy is how, though she lost a lot, so many other people were able to capitalize off of that moment. So here we have an article from Rolling Stone about how Nipplegate created YouTube. If you're not familiar with the story, the founders of YouTube created the platform because they could not find video of the nip slip. And so they said, well, we need to make something that makes finding videos and playing videos easy and shareable. The incident happened in 2004. YouTube debuted in 2005. That's Janet's legacy. But not only that, because YouTube was so popular, it led to the creation of Netflix's streaming service. And the head of Netflix at that time, Robert Kinsel, wrote in his autobiography that it took for YouTube to be able to establish themselves as a streaming platform where so many people wanted to go and show the economic viability of streaming. That convinced Netflix to get into the streaming game and eventually abandon its DVD rental service. That all comes from Janet's trauma. The incident that changed Janet Jackson's life. That's interesting. Wow, Janet is responsible for YouTube. Yep. Yep. Okay. Let's move on. Also, Janet is the blueprint. Janet is that girl. So it's so interesting in 2022 to go back and look at the uproar, the hullabaloo, the brouhaha around Nipplegate and know that if the same thing happened today, the way that people respond would be completely different. Kendra, sorry, Kendra, did I miss your? Oh, here it is. Viewing a Black woman's body literally led to a digital evolution. People constantly are profiting off of Black women's images, literally changed the internet. Like, that shit is so crazy. All right, but back to Janet being the blueprint. Okay. So in 2022, people are still, upset, outraged about a WAP or what's the new Shinsei and Megan Lick and Beyonce and Chloe and the list goes on and on and on, right? And FKA Twigs, I've seen people say are Janet's sons. Tinashe, more sexual, more overt, more nasty, into S&M. Rihanna even had a song called S&M, right? No, Jada was doing the first to do that. Being, let's get nasty, let's talk about it. I like this. I like to get effed. She also was the originator of the I'm not a girl, not yet a woman transition, but we don't have time to talk about that. But let's talk about this, right? Y'all remember this moment from last year's VMAs, where at the end of Normani's performance of Wild Side, she brought out Tiana Taylor to do the, what is it called? The St. Andrew's Cross. I'm not in that community. I'm not in the BDSM community, so I don't really know what these things are called. But, Tiana, who is a big Janet stan, came out on the cross. Normani gave her the kind of Janet-esque kind of dance thing. It wasn't completely convincing for me, but that's neither here nor there. But it was absolutely a direct reference to things that Janet has been doing in her live shows for 20 years. So anyways, let me wipe my nose. Sorry. Cut Janet the check. Yeah. All right. That is all I have on this because I spent an hour talking about this. I'm going to go ahead and do the full-blown review of the documentary. I just decided I'm going to go ahead and do that full-blown review for patrons and members and the Substack subscribers. So we'll go ahead and do that yesterday. I just don't have a desire to be on here for another hour talking about the documentary. I just wanted to talk about that particular incident because I knew it was going to take up a lot of time. Thank you guys so much. Oh, let me get this down. Thank you guys so much. I appreciate you for tuning in. Leave a comment, like, share, subscribe. Tell me what I should talk about next. Happy Black History Month. Be Black, be bold, be proud. Don't embarrass us. Don't do no embarrassing shit. Stop talking to white people. Stop talking to white people in Black History Month. And what I mean is, sorry, I have to end with a little rant, a little aside. I don't like y'all using Black History Month space to give lectures to white people. I don't like that. I don't like that. Do that another time. Leave us out of that, okay? We're here to celebrate ourselves. Thank you. Bye.